show. Gregory, we are back.
We go.
We went away because of the pandemic took us away for a minute, but now we are back. Aren't you happy?
Right. Yeah, the pandemic put a hold on everything. It put a hold on my comeback, by the way, actually.
You still working on the comeback?
I'm still working. The pandemic put a hold on it, and I was making strides. Okay. But we can talk about that later.
All right. Well, actually, your comeback and you making strides all fits into today's conversation with today's guest, Mr. Bruce R. Berry. Welcome, Coach. How are you?
I'm good. Appreciate it.
Well, the reason why he's here with us today because he has a very interesting story, like a story that you probably, I guess you could say, is fit for the movies. You know, you say, like, when you think about this, does this happen in real life? You're like, nah, this is something that happened in the movies. But no, this is real life here. And Gregory, we get to hear his story today. Aren't you excited?
And I do remember one of your themes being like perseverance and how you had to persevere through the pandemic. And I think Coach Berry embodies perseverance. Am I correct?
Yes, he does. So let us not keep him waiting. Let him tell his story of perseverance. All right, Coach Berry, welcome to the show once again. Start to tell us, well, let's take a little bit of background. Like, tell us who you are and,
let's meet Coach Berry.
Yeah, let's meet Coach Berry.
All right. Like she said, my name is Bruce Berry. I am the assistant track and field coach at Rutger University Newark Campus. I've been there since 2018. Prior to that, I was a high school phys ed and health instructor and head track and field coach at Central High School in Newark. And prior to that, I was the assistant track and field coach at Virginia Tech University. And prior to that, I was the assistant track and field coach at the University of Akron. Prior to that, I was the head track and field coach and phys ed and health instructor at Elizabeth High School. Prior to that, I was the assistant track and field coach at Clemson University. Prior to that, I was the head track and field coach and phys ed and health instructor at West Orange High School. Do I need to keep going?
No.
You don't like to stay in one place too long, do you?
Now, Coach has been, it's an ongoing joke that, my wife and I, this is our seventh house. And now we've been here since 2007, but prior to this was our seventh house in 9 years. So,
wow.
It was a move, just going out and pursuing my dreams, and thank God that she was a willing participant, and was always able to land a job. And so my daughter's grown up. She has grown up in 3-4 different states, and so it's been a journey. It's been a heck of a one, but it's been a journey.
So let's talk about this journey, because it hasn't always been a smooth journey. And when we talk about perseverance, and we were saying you embody that, it's because, flashback to being 17 years old, you've graduated, you're on your way to college, you've completed your first year at the University of Virginia, you are big man on campus. Prior to that, as a high school athlete or as an age group athlete, you were killing it in the hurdles, state champion, you were the man, recruited by a lot of big time schools, and you get to the University of Virginia, you're killing it, you're doing it, All-American, and then what happens?
Yeah, then also that freshman year, I made the World Junior team in 1985 and became the World Junior champion in Athens, Greece. That summer, things started developing with my eyes. I would wake up in the morning, things would be blurry. And as the day went on, it would get better. And then as over a period of 10 to 12 days, it just didn't get better anymore. It was just blurry. It was a total shock. I didn't know what was going on. It's like, what the heck is happening here? So I go see a first you go to an optometrist, and I see an ophthalmologist, and they finally figure out that I have this disease called optic neurosis, which is an inflammation of my optic nerve.
Okay, optic neurosis. I see Gregory with the church finger up. Gregory, what you got to say?
All right. Before, I just want the audience to know, what exactly we're dealing with as far as the caliber of athlete that we have on the show. All right, Veronica, you were an athlete. I consider myself being an athlete, but Coach Barrett, could you let the audience know what type of athlete you have to be a champion hurdler? Like, that's different. I don't think everybody understands what type of athlete you have to be a hurdler. Can you let our audience know a little bit about, the demands of a hurdler and being the best at it? Veronica, you could never been no hurdler. We know that. Let's put that on record.
Well, I think hurdlers, I think we're in a special breed. I always make jokes that we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Where if you're just a regular runner, you just have to run straight and make a left, because that's the way the curve goes. You just go. We have to incorporate a lot of different things. We have steps. We have to, negotiate in between hurdles and things like that. It's 2 sets of hurdles. I was more successful as a 400 hurdler, but I was an All-American also as a 110 hurdler, which is a straightaway hurdles. 400 hurdles is a little bit more negotiation and things that you have to do, as far as steps and so forth and so on. But yeah, you gotta run and you gotta hurdle. So you got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. That's what I say. As far as being a champion, I mean, I think in anything, Veronica's been an All-American. When you become a Division I All-American, and I'm a 9-time Division I All-American. When you become an All-American, you one of the 8 best in the country, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no, oh, well, he didn't run well this week, but we'll give him all. No, you have to do it in that race at that time, and you have to be in the top 8. Back when I was competing, and I'm a little bit older than Veronica, back when I was competing, when you qualified for nationals, you had one time. You had one time. There was no A standard, B standard. It was one time. You run this time, you go to nationals. You don't run the time, you don't go to nationals. Now they have A standard, a B standard, which is a little bit not as challenging. They have a regional section now where you can qualify through regionals, and we have one shot. So you make it to nationals, you qualify through the rounds, you make the finals, you'll make All-American. And so you're whittling it down. You may have 36, 39, 40 people in a given event, and you're whittling it down each round until you're one of the top 8 in the finals. So becoming that, was it a challenge? No, it was something I was used to. You go to school and you're on full scholarship and they're paying you, and that's your job. That's what you're supposed to do. I think that's what a lot of our younger athletes don't understand this now. It's a give and take. It's a barter situation. You give me a full scholarship, but I got to perform. You have to perform, bottom line. This man's not going to pay tens of thousands of dollars for you to attend his university, and you're getting a free education and free shoes and free all of this, and you're traveling and you're doing all of that, but you got to produce also. Yeah. The rules are a lot less stringent now, but they could take scholarships back then. They can take it from you.
Yeah.
Wow.
In a heartbeat.
All-American, top of the world, and then what we gonna call it? Tragedy wrong? A tragedy strikes?
No, well, some people, again, it's about perception. Maybe tragedy, he did look at it as tragedy, but Coach Barry, take us there. Blurry vision, not seeing like you used to. A hurdler, have to be able to negotiate those 10 barriers.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Well, you have a parent like my father, Bert Berry, who was a principal in Newark, in the city of Newark. And at that time, it was the largest elementary school in the state of New Jersey, and seventh largest elementary school in the country. He had over 4,000 kids. That's about 3,600 in this building. And he had a friend who was a principal at another high school, JFK High School, which is a handicap high school for handicapped kids. And we were sitting around, and I'm feeling sorry for myself, and I'm fighting back tears. And my father said, "Well, let's take a ride." So we drive down to JFK High School and meet the principal. And I knew Mr. Conti, and we walking down the hallway, and we come to this room, and we go in the room, and there's 5 guys in there, five kids in there, in wheelchairs, colostomy bags, severely handicapped. And father said, "Well, just sitting here for a little while." What am I doing this? What's going on? So I go in, and the kids start approaching me with their, in their wheelchairs and trying to communicate, and I'm just looking like, this is crazy. And I don't know, it was an epiphany. Something just hit me, and it was like, I get it, and I just started crying. And I'm communicating, I'm trying to communicate with the kids, and tears are flowing, and I'm looking at them, and sometimes I still get emotional about it, and I'm looking at them, and I'm saying, wow, I finally get it. So about 15 minutes, my father comes back, and they come back, and my father, wiping my eyes, and he was like, "So now what's your biggest problem?" He said, "What, you can't drive? You can't see that girl across the street? It takes you a little bit longer to read something? What's your biggest problem?" He said, "Look at these kids. These kids survive every day. They wake up every day. People have to help them. People have to clean them. People have to change them. They can't really communicate. You're walking, you're talking, you still get to run, you do everything. So what? It takes a little bit longer. So what are you going to do? You going to roll over? Or you going to get up and keep it moving?" You're right. So I had to get up and keep it moving. You can't feel sorry for yourself. The world's going to move on without you. And my college coach said to me, he said, "The sun comes up every day. Are you going to get up with it? Or are you going to allow the world to just pass you by? Because there's a lot more people worse off than you. But when you're in that situation, you don't feel that. You're like, my world is crumbling. I don't give 2 hoots about Joe Blow next door. I'm going through this." But you have to be able to persevere with it. You have to be able to accept it. And you've got to be able to move on. And so fortunately, if it wasn't for my father, Bert Berry, I don't really know how things would have fallen. Because I was ready to leave school. I was just ready to just give up.
So take us to when you were at nationals, because you had, up to that point, you had developed a process for how you could navigate with your optic neurosis, but the plan didn't go according to usual, or as it should have.
It's just, that's when they say, you can't mess with Mother Nature, because you just never control. I always had a game plan going in. I knew when the finals of my race would be, or whenever my race could be at an invitational, and I knew what time I was running. So the day before, I would always go out onto the track at that time when I was competing, when I was running, to get a lay of the land, per se. I wanted to see where the sun was, what kind of shadows it was creating, because my vision is like looking through a pair of binoculars that aren't in focus. You can see movement, you can see colors, you can see things, you can't make things out in detail. So as I'm getting closer to the hurdles, because I do count my steps, as I'm getting closer to the hurdle comes in quote unquote focus, so I know where I am. But I need to see where the angles of the sun, what kind of shadows it's laying down. So we're in Provo, Utah, on the campus of BYU, and we're at the NCAAs, and I make the finals. So the finals were set to go off at 6:30 on Saturday. So I had a day break. I made the finals on Thursday, ran the semifinals on Thursday. So I had a day break on Friday. So at 6:30-ish, I go out onto the track, and I'm seeing where the sun is and shadows it's creating, and I walk the whole race, and all right, I'm good. So as we're in the staging tent, as they call it, it just starts getting colder. This is about 6:15 now. It's starting getting colder. It's breezy. The sky just turns dark all of a sudden, and we get a rain delay. A rain delay for about an hour and a half. I'm saying, I'll be darned. So we go through. So they reschedule our race for 8:20. This almost 2 hours later, hour and 50 minutes later. I'm saying, this is unbelievable. So by this time, the clouds move, the sun comes back out, but obviously the sun is in a different position now. So if you know that evening sun, that real glaring type sun, it's sort of coming from, I don't know what direction it would be, but let's just say for any given distance, it's coming from the west. And it's creating a real glare on the eighth hurdle. I don't get a chance to go out there and see it. So I'm in the race and running an extremely good race. And I'm noticing as I get over the seventh hurdle, it's just, I just see just clearness. It's just like brightness. I'm saying, uh-oh. So I get there and I sort of see the hurdle on my last couple of steps and I clip the hurdle. And as I clip the hurdle, I stumble. And Kevin Young, who ends up winning the race from UCLA, who was the world record holder up until about 2 months ago, Kevin comes by me and he says, "I got you." And, you know.
He said that when he passed you?
As he passed me. He said, "I got you."
Oh, man.
And I used some colorful metaphors back towards him. And it's on. We're going over the last two hurdles, and it's on, and we lean at the line, and Kevin beats me by 1/100th of a second to win the national championship.
That much.
Took him about 12 minutes to read the picture. To this day, he still says, "I was going to beat you anyway." And, of course, I respond back very colorfully, but basically, no, you weren't. Because it was over with. It was over. I mean, you were in that zone, and I know Veronica's been into it. Greg, you've been in. You get in that zone, and had I not hit that eighth hurdle, it was a wrap. It was definitely over with. So that was the that was the only time that I ever used my eyes or blamed my eyes for something, but it was something that was out of my control. You know, Mother Nature, rain, couldn't run in the rain. It's the way it goes. So I had to, you suck it up and you keep it moving.
And you keep moving on. But I mean, not just, outdoors, because that was outdoors, but, you were All-American indoor, actually, your freshman year when you were at Virginia, 500. So indoors, it can be a lot of challenges as well, because it's a compressed space, bodies are jostling. And how did you navigate running the 500, especially when it comes to breaking at that, at the turn?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing Coach used to always say, he used to always tell all of us, not just because of me, because of my eyes, he used to tell all of us. He said the biggest way not to get in trouble is just be in front at the break. So that was one of the mentalities, but you're at nationals and everybody's fast getting to that break. In races I've been in, I can pretty much gauge when I'm next to someone, where I am in the race, and I can sort of see, and being a runner, you just get a feel for it. It's not like I have blinders on and I don't really see anything to the side. I can pretty much see where I am. But yeah, you just get out in front, I didn't have to worry about it. So
okay, that's true. If you're out in the front, you don't have to worry about it. Gregory, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah.
What do you want to say, Greg?
Now the fact that you lose your vision, I'm thinking you're going into early retirement, but you kept running.
Mm-hmm.
After you finished running, you went into coaching. So you talked about, as a runner, how you would make the adjustments you had to make for the vision. You had to be out there. You had to see where the sun was. You had to see where the shadows would be in order to prepare for the run. As a coach, what type of things you have to do differently to be successful as a coach? Because I'm pretty sure you wouldn't keep a job if you weren't successful. And me and Veronica both know as coaches, like you gotta watch the details. And being that your vision is so impaired, you can't see details. Like what adjustments do you have to make as far as for your quote unquote handicap in order, to do what you do as a coach?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm asked that a lot. First, I go to meets with my binoculars, so things can come closer to me, and I can look at specific things. The second thing was I had to learn a craft. I had to learn my craft. I mean, I knew the hurdles, I knew the sprints, I knew the jumps, but I didn't know them in detail. So I began to talk to coaches. I talked to Wilbur Ross, who was a coach of mine, who by far is the hurdle god of everything. Rest his soul. I mean, he's coached so many world champions and Olympic holders and world record holders. I, sat down with Wilbur Ross over a weekend, and he wrote a book called The Hurdler's Bible. And he literally made me learn that book. Like, he would ask me, page 176, I was talking about this. How did I talk about it? So I had to master the events. And then the second thing was that I learned that you have to know your athlete. You've got to know what's going on with them. You have to know their weaknesses. You have to know their strengths. And be honest, your athletes, and you know what's going on. And sometimes I don't even have to look. I see the end result, and I will be able to tell them what happened. Look, you didn't drive through the hurdle. You didn't pull the trail leg through right. You didn't hold the jump. You didn't finish it. You didn't drive off the board. I can tell them, and I don't even have to see it because I know them so well. So that's what I think attributed to my success as a coach, contributed to my success as a coach, and the passion I had for it. So I had to become a master of none, and a jack of all spades, master of none. So I sort of had to know it. But then when I got into my specialties, I really had to break it down. So I'd look at specific things in a given race. I'll look at, again, the drive off the board. I'll look at the trail leg. I'll see where the lead arm is going in the hurdles, whatever the case could be.
Yeah, because you're very much in details, because a lot of what you coached, not just at the collegiate level, but also the high school, like you've coached a lot of technical events. It's not just sprinting. And sprinting is technical, but I mean, you did coached hurdlers, you've coached long jumpers, triple jumpers, high jumpers, you've coached the throws. Like, talk about technical events that you really got to know the little details of. That's almost kind of like what you specialize. And the athletes that you've had in those events have gone on to be state champions. They've gone on to be professional athletes, world-class athletes, world champions. You've coached, numerous of All-Americans, collegiate and 2 Olympians. Like you've coached them at the highest level. And yet you've done it where some people with perfect vision may miss what you don't. Yeah. So how is that, I mean, really, how is that so possible? Like, I'm sure there's been times where, at a race and you be like, Coach, did you see me? And you was like, what? You thought you saw that person, but you missed him. You was looking at somebody else. Has that ever happened?
All the time. Not all the time, but it does happen. I'll be looking at, and we may have uniforms that are similar to another team's, and I'm looking at a specific lane because I just know it's our athlete. I know it's my athlete, and they're in 3 lanes, 4 lanes, 5 lanes over. And this particular person I may be looking at may just run a horrible race, and I'm pissed. And I'm like, and they, the kids will be like, well, what's wrong, Coach? He won. She won the race. No, he did. Nah, Coach, she was in lane 2. Oh, dang, I was looking in lane 7. My bad. Or they'll come up and be like, well, Coach, what do you think happened in that race? And I got no idea. What happened in that jump? I got no idea. Because you ain't drive off the board right. Look, the trail leg was slow coming through. That's what the problem is. Don't we have to keep working? And they'll go, yeah, you're right. You're right. I didn't see the race. I didn't see the jump. But again, your athletes so well. You know what their flaws are. And as far as the more elite athletes that I've coached, that was a little bit more technical. Like there were certain things that I had to break down, like for say April in the triple jump. Like there were certain things like, her foot placement, the exact position of her foot, Densdale in the hurdles, where he was coming off the hurdles on hurdle 7. Is he in the right position?
Who was that again? What was his name?
Densdale Morgan. He made the 1996 Olympic team for Jamaica.
And the other girl, April
Williams. Yeah, she was on the 2000 Olympic team in the triple jump for the U.S.
Okay.
So I had to be more technical with those. So there were specific things I was looking at. When you get to that level, you don't have to worry about the per se X's and O's. You really just fine tuning them now because they're already elite athletes. Right. So it's not a lot of training per se with them. You're looking at a lot more video with them, and right. You're breaking down and look, this is what needs to happen here. We need to make this adjustment right here. So those right. that's the difference.
Oh, okay. Because I know there's been times when you and I have been at a track meeting and something has happened and you was about to go off and I was like, wait, coach, that's not our team. That's the other. Yeah. And he was like, oh, they look like us.
That was a couple of weeks ago.
I know. I was like, coach, that's not our team.
I was like, shoot, they had red on. So I thought it was our team. They standing right there. They were about to catch it though.
You're like, right. They can get it too.
They can get it too, right? They deserve it also. So. But,
oh, yeah, goodness.
Those are little quirky things that do happen sometimes, just yelling at somebody. I've been yelling at people across the field and they're like, who you yelling at, coach? I said, I'm yelling at Raheem over there. Raheem is right here. Well, who is that? Oh, that's Thomas. Well, Thomas needs it too then. Now Raheem, let me tell you something. It is what it is.
Oh my God. Well, this has been great. And we are going to come back for our part 2. And that's where we're going to get into more stuff about more of your everyday life and sort of your philosophy and what do you do and, as far as mentoring and helping the young people out. But this is going to wrap up our part 1. And we want to thank everyone who's joined us for we're back with the Veronica Harris Show. Gregory, you got anything to say as we ease on out of here?
Good to see you again. Looking good. Let me see them raptor claws. Okay. Looking good, big sis.
All right. Well, Gregory, take us on out of here because you know how we like to say what?
Deuces. Right? Is that what it is?
Yes.
It's been a while.
Exactly. Deuces. Thank y'all for watching the Veronica Harris Show and catch us here next time.
Deuces.
Gregory, I don't know what to say about you, Gregory.